Hi, thank you for watching Chittarupa Yoga. Today we're going to have a full hour chair yoga class. We're going to work on increasing our strength, improving our balance, improving our range of motion at our joints, all while using a chair in various ways. So make sure that you have a chair that is nice and sturdy, something that's not going to roll around. It'd be nice if it has a back, especially something you can hold on to. I'm putting mine at least partly on a mat so that it won't slide around out from under me, so make sure it doesn't have wheels and run out from under you. And go ahead and just find your spot. While you're doing that, take a moment to subscribe to the channel if you have not already. Leave me some comments below after you watch the video. Let me know what you think. If you want more videos like this, tell me, and I will do that. Also, check out that Patreon link below too. It's a way to financially support me in providing free content here on YouTube. So we're going to begin sitting in our chair up on those sit bones, a little forward so that we can focus on sitting up tall. We also want to find 2 fist distance, which will be hip distance for our knees, and then just check that our ankles are underneath our knees. And then we want to stack shoulders on top of our hips, begin to draw our navel in and up, shoulders back and down, and let's close our eyes. So we're going to begin with some deep breaths. And let's breathe in and out through our nose. And begin by driving the breath into our belly. So just taking a few deep belly breaths, relaxing our body, calming our mind, and just bringing our awareness to this moment right here. Checking in with our body, seeing how it feels. And remembering, with the chair we get to do a lot of modifications of poses that I think are kind of fun. But I will still be offering options. Let's all take the option that suits our body the best. And we're going to move from here into 3-part breath. So we're going to inhale, filling up the belly, letting our rib cage expand open and our heart lift. And then with an exhale, we lower our heart, drawing in our ribs and then our belly. So we inhale into the belly, the ribs and heart, exhaling heart, ribs and belly. Keeping that length in our spine. And we are going to work our whole body in this workout. So let's keep our shoulders relaxed. I'll tell you what, let's go ahead and roll them a little bit. One way, and then the other. And then relaxing them down toward the floor, hands resting in our lap. Let's inhale, let our chin lift up to the ceiling. Exhaling, chin to chest. Following our own breath as we inhale up, exhale down. Keeping our shoulders relaxed. On the next exhale, let's bring our chin to chest, and slowly we're going to roll our head from side to side. And just checking in with how our neck and shoulders are feeling, what we may be hearing. Let's bring our chin back to our chest and lift up. We're going to take this to a full cat and cow movement now. Inhaling up tall, exhaling our chest forward. Inhaling up, exhale and roll forward. So just imagine a wave rolling from our tailbone up to the crown of our head. We're moving our whole spine here, connecting our movement to our breath. We want to do a proper warm-up for any exercise that we do. Let's inhale up tall. And we'll take our legs a little wide now, and we're going to move side to side. So let's reach up and tap the ceiling with one hand, and then the other. We can inhale on one side, exhale on the other, or find our own personal pattern for our breath. Warming up the sides of our body, getting a little shoulder work here. going to keep to a theme of core and lift up tall. Inhale, exhale our nose to one knee and then the other. Inhale, lengthen up tall. Exhale and circle. So we'll do this a few times this direction. And then we'll pause on our next inhale, go to the other knee first. Coming back to the center. Let's bring our feet in and we're going to go ahead and stand up. Let's come sideways beside our chair and we're going to stand up kind of close, hands about shoulder distance. So on the chair but towards the edges. And we're just going to do a few little push-up kind of things right here. And then lifting up tall, let's kind of find a cat pose, separating our shoulder blades. The key to what we're about to do is come into plank. We want to keep our shoulders right here over our wrists. We don't want to shoot back any, we want to be over. And from there, lift the navel and walk our feet back. So shoulders stay over the wrists, and we find a plank pose. Just a little warm-up plank pose. Let's come forward, and we'll lift up. So we can stand away from the chair now. We're going to work through our legs. I tell you what, let's step in front of the chair and out wider than the chair, turning our toes out just a bit. And then we're going to pretend that we're going to sit down in the chair, and then if you need to, go ahead and sit. We're going to bring elbows to our hips. Let's inhale, lifting up, exhale down. Inhale, coming up, exhale. Sit all the way down if you need to. But we're going to see if we can just hover there. We're going to make this move even bigger. We're going to inhale up, exhale, sit back, and then hinge forward. Inhale, come up, exhale, sit the hips back, and then hinge. Bigger move, more breath. And then we're going to find our sun pose. So let's lift up. We're going to lower down into our squat, arms wide. And let's bring this back up. Turning our toes in a little bit this time. Let's hinge about halfway forward. Scoot a little forward to the chair, and we're going to lunge side to side. So if you prefer, stay up taller. Come halfway forward. We can even take our arms out, and we will make this a little more challenging. And let's come back to the center, forward fold, rolling up. Let's go ahead and walk our feet in. Have a seat for just a moment. And just kind of stretch everything out. So we are going to move to some standing poses. And while I get chilly when I sit still, I get a little slippery when I'm in socks. So make sure that you're safe no matter how you're approaching your yoga. Now let's go ahead and find our mountain pose. From here, let's step out wide. And we're going to find warrior two. So we're going to lift the toes of one foot and turn them out. And lunge ourselves here, arms out wide. So the chair is here. If we need it, we're going to take one thigh on to the chair. Extend the other leg out and find warrior one. So those who are capable of standing and doing this, great. If you need the support of the chair, here it goes. And we're going to flip our front palm, reach out past our knee, and then up to the ceiling, reverse warrior. So while we hold poses, we want to make sure that we're taking our 3-part breaths, or just breathing as deeply as we can. Right now, we're really open on that one side of our body, so really fill that lung up. Squeeze on the exhales. So taking this to side angle, we're going to bring our forearm to our thigh. We can reach our other arm up to the ceiling, but we can also let it rest at our hip or even behind us. We want to focus on the stacking of our shoulders. So wherever the shoulder is, that's where our arm is going to be. We don't want to reach it way back. We should always be able to see it right out of the side of our eye if we do reach it up. I personally prefer to have it on my hip. And then depending on our balance, we can try looking up, stay looking out, or even looking at the floor helps us ground and balance. So let's open this up again, reverse warrior. Remembering those deep breaths. And let's come back to our side angle for a moment. We're going to revolve it. So the opposite hand, we're going to bring it to our thigh. If you're standing, we're going to reach our hand all the way around, which you can do on the chair as well, or we can just rest a hand on the back of our chair. But try it. Try one all the way around. Breathe is a little challenging in twists, especially standing twists. Do your best. Anytime that we feel dizzy or anything, we want to come out of a pose. If we find that we're not able to breathe decently enough, then we want to come back out a little bit and make sure that we can. So let's go ahead and unwind here, take it back to reverse warrior. Now let's come back to our warrior two. If we're standing, we're just going to turn the toes forward. In the chair, we can actually just turn ourselves forward. Let's stay wide leg though. And we're going to press open here, bring our heart forward. And of course, those who are standing can just come all the way forward. If you don't feel like you'll come out of the chair, you can come all the way forward in the chair. So several options to choose from here. We're all picking the one that works for our body today. I'll switch between them. Now let's go ahead and lift up, and we're going to take warrior two on the other side. So lift the toes and turn if you're standing. We're going to take that toes out either way. Come onto our thigh and walk that leg back. So warrior two, whichever variation we're choosing. For now, our spine is tall. We should be able to breathe just like in our mountain pose. And let's flip our hand, reaching out and then up to the ceiling, reverse warrior. Again, opening up that side of our body. Let's take advantage with some deep breaths into that lung. And then we'll find our side angle. So again, stacking the shoulders as much as we can, making sure we can see this hand out of the side of our eye if we're reaching it up. But remember, we can place it on our hip or even round behind us. And sometimes it's fun to try something different. If you're used to doing it one way, try one of these other ways. And again, our gaze can go up if our balance is feeling good. Straight ahead is always nice. And again, sometimes I like to look at the floor because it just helps me ground and balance better. But let's go ahead and reverse warrior again. And most people do tend to look up in this one. But again, taking the gaze wherever we need it. And let's come back to our side angle so we can revolve it. Opposite hand to our thigh. We can take a hand to the chair if we're there, or wrap around as far as we can, but making sure that we can still breathe. We don't want to go so deep that we can't breathe. And let's unwind back to side angle. And then we'll find that reverse warrior. Bringing our arms back to warrior two. Let's lift our toes and turn forward, or hold on to the chair and turn forward. And again, we're going to take it wide. Well, we're going to see about reaching back, clasping our hands, and let's really open our chest here. So if we're on the chair, we want to bring our feet a little forward and just bring our heart forward so we feel that crease at our hips, opening our chest. And for those who are standing, or if you're on the chair and want to stand, we can lift up and come halfway forward or even further. So we're all listening to our own body, working to our own comfort level. let's bring it up. So we are on the chair. Let's go ahead and stand for these next couple of poses. We're going to use the chair in a different way. So you'll get to use the chair for support. We're going to find mountain pose a little behind the chair. And we're going to step 1 foot forward for just a small warrior 1. Hands at our hips, heart, or overhead. I'm going to stay in the middle. And we're going to take this to a pyramid pose, straightening our front leg, and let's come forward. So here's where we can use the chair, hands on our chair. Now we can also take our hands to the floor or our leg. Just depends again on our personal comfort level, our personal abilities for today. And some days are stiffer than others. So we just want to breathe here. We're opening up the back of this leg without locking out the knee. And if we do have hands on our leg, let's just keep the same side hand on our leg. Otherwise, same side hand as that leg on the chair. And we're going to focus on opening up the shoulders again, finding our triangle. So again, arm reaching straight out of wherever the shoulder is, or hand at our hip, or behind our back. Gazing up, out, or down. And let's unwind again back to pyramid. And let's lift up from here, hands on the floor or on our chair, and we're just going to lift that other leg up and see if we can balance here with our hands down and that foot down. Bring that foot back, lifting up to warrior 1. So let's go ahead and shake that hip out, switch sides, and we're going to step forward with the other foot. So starting in warrior 1, and this is another reason we want a mat kind of halfway in front of our chair. Keeps the chair from slipping, but it gives us some traction if we decide to stand and do these moves. So let's find our pyramid, straightening the front leg. And again, we can walk down and hold on to our leg, or the chair is there. Checking in with our breath as always. And then for our triangle, we want the same side hand on our leg or our chair, stacking our shoulders, not locking out the knee, and breathing. Always want to breathe. Now let's unwind back to pyramid. Lifting ourselves up to warrior 1. And let's release. So we're going to come beside the chair again. We're going to look at our planks. We always want to work our upper body no matter what kind of exercise class we do. So let's again find that shoulder distant, sort of toward the edges of the chair. And let's take a downward dog to begin with, just to stretch everything out. Now for this one, we're going to step back, and then we are going to push our hips back and up, letting our head come between our arms, shoulders back behind the wrists. So right now we've got our legs back here supporting ourselves. We're pushing back and up through the tailbone, ears between our arms. And then we're going to come forward, shoulders over our wrists. And then we can step back again to get our whole body in a long line. All right, we don't want to still have our hips up, and we don't want to come out so far that our hips sink. We want to lift through the navel, kind of find that long straight line, or as straight as we can get it. We may be up a little bit, and that's fine. Let's see if we can kind of hang out here. It's a little challenging to breathe. That's part of how this pose works. Let's go ahead and walk in, and we'll stand up for a moment. One thing about arm balances is they do tend to get our heart rate up. So standing up for a moment, letting our breath subside helps. And of course, we're going to stay here as long as we need to for our own bodies today. Let's go ahead and stay upright, and we're going to look at our balance today. So we have the chair, and even though this one has a handle, I'm not going to grab it. Try to think about pushing down if you do use the chair to assist with balance rather than pulling on the chair at all. Push down. I'm also going to encourage you today to try maybe 1 finger or 2 fingers for balance. Let's see what happens. Let's go ahead and shift over to the leg that's closest to our chair, and we're going to turn the other knee out. So coming into our tree pose. Now, one thing we can do is keep the toes down, hands or finger on a chair. We can lift our other limb, or we can place that foot on our calf somewhere below our knee. And then just kind of play around with taking our hand up. It helps to find something straight ahead that's not moving to focus on, usually. Lifting tall through our spine. All right, let's release. Shake that out, walk it out. We're going to do the other side. So find that nice strong stance. Again, think about using just 1 or 2 fingers, pushing down on the chair instead of holding it. Let's shift over, turn our knee out, and find tree on this side. Toes down, or on the leg. Staying focused. Balance is as much about focus as it is anything. That's one reason they recommend you get your eyes checked once a year so that your vision is clear. It does help with your balance. Of course, it also helps if you can see anything you might be stepping on. Remember, a breeze has come. And release. A good tree is going to bend with that wind. All right, we are going to go ahead and come back to our chair for some deep stretches and stuff. And again, since I get a little chilly, I'm going to take a moment to put these back on. Now let's just start here, sitting up tall again on our sit bones, hip distant. And let's just take a couple of deep breaths. Nice tall spine, inhale up. Let's exhale, hands to heart. So we do want to keep our body warm, which it should already be from those work poses. But as we move into the deep stretches, we want to work and focus on improving our range of motion at our joints. So let's go ahead and begin with our chest and these muscles across our chest and shoulders. Let's reach back for the back of our chair. So it's nice to have one that's sturdy. Reach back, hold on, and really open up. We can scoot forward a little bit and push our heart forward while pushing our hands into the chair. This opens up our chest, gives us some space along our rib cage and the front of our shoulders. I'm feeling this across this part of my shoulder as well as the chest here. So while we're here, we can take our 3-part breaths. When we get to that rib expansion, we have a lot more room to expand now. So see if we can feel our breath here. Take advantage. I always like to think it's like stretching on the inside. You inhale, stretch everything open on the inside, and see if we can keep it open on the exhale. Remembering not to breathe so much, so deeply, so quickly that we get dizzy. Now let's release from here, and we're going to take our arms up. We're going to cross one over the other, and either just give ourselves a big hug, opening up along the backs of our shoulders now, separating the shoulder blades, or we're going to see if we can touch the backs of our hands. Some people may be able to wrap all the way around to their palms, but I'm going to hang out right here and push this down. So we want our hands coming to our forehead, or thumbs kind of at our nose. This creates our eagle beak for our eagle pose. let's unwind from here, and we're going to take the top hand and let's take it underneath our bottom here, underneath our leg, and push it very actively into the chair. And then we're going to drop our head away. So getting as much space between our ear and shoulder as we can. Let's release from there, shake it out. So let's reach around behind us again, clasping the chair. Let's roll our chest open. See if we can get it a little more open this time. And maybe even looking over one shoulder. And then the other one. Let's bring our head back to the center. One more deep breath. And release. So let's take our other arm on top, crossing and just holding in the hug, or touching the backs of the hands or the palms. And then we're going to bring our hands to our face, making our eagle beak. As we breathe here, we want to separate the shoulder blades, really open the back of our rib cage. And let's unwind, taking this hand now underneath us, pushing very hard into the chair, dropping our ear away. I oftentimes find these neck stretches to be relaxing. The area around our neck, upper shoulders, tends to get tense. So let's see if we can just let everything roll off. And just shake that out. So let's go ahead while we're sitting tall and take a look over one shoulder and just kind of see how far our chin gets. And taking it over to the other. Let's come back to the center. And we're going to sit up nice and tall here and take it to some pelvic tilts. Again, just bringing heat back to the body again. We feel our sit bones kind of rolling back and forth, kind of like a rocking chair here. But think about pushing in the navel, really pulling in the belly over and over. Keeping our chest up, finding a pattern to our breath. If we're going slow enough, we can exhale when we squeeze everything. Excellent. All right, let's move on to some hip opening stretches on our chair. So we're going to begin by taking one foot forward, sitting up tall, and let's reach. We want to reach up and straight ahead, not down toward the leg, up. See if we can reach out past the leg, and the more that we draw our toes up, the more we're going to feel this on the back of our leg. So hopefully we're feeling this up to our sit bone as well. We felt the same kind of sensation when we did that pyramid standing a moment ago. Now let's go ahead and sit up from here, and we're going to cross this leg at the ankle. See if we can get the outer hip here hinging forward. Now for those who have the capability of getting their foot to their knee, you're going to get more sensation as we hinge forward into that outer hip or glute. So we want to make sure that we don't let this knee sink too low. We want to keep it higher than the other knee, higher than our foot. So some of us who have a little hypermobility might want to use some support here at the knee. Keeping our foot relaxed. And again, breathing as deeply as we can. See if we can get a little closer to our legs. Let's go ahead and sit up from here, taking our legs out wide. And let's press just above where our knees are. Push the knees open, and then we're going to bring our heart forward. Forward, not down. Forward. That way we do not fall off the chair. And everybody's got their own range of motion here. as to how far open they can get. As we sit here and hold this, let's see if we can get a little further open. This is where we work on increasing that range of motion, increasing our flexibility. And hips are something we definitely want to be flexible, but strong. Now let's come back up. We're still focusing on this one leg. Let's scoot back a little bit more onto this one leg, kind of like earlier when we did that warrior. Now some of us, believe it or not, some people can reach down, grab their foot, and kind of open up the front of this hip here. So if you can do it, if that's not you, let's kind of come forward here and start to wiggle and push the knee back behind the hip. The goal here, whichever one we do, is to get this area of our hip opening up. Especially if we sit a lot during the day, this gets short, kind of like this is kind of hurting right now because it's so closed up. We want to open it up every so often. So let's give ourselves a few breaths here and just really think about that. Walking the foot back a little further perhaps every so often. Making sure we can breathe. Always want to breathe. Now let's go ahead and add a little side stretch to get a little more opening across the outside of our hips. So upper hand, we're going to lift up and just lean over the back of our chair. Keep pushing down through this knee though to increase the sensation on this stretch. Now let's go ahead and release from here. We're going to bring our leg back in and let's face forward and sit for just a moment. So we've put this hip through its entire range of motion. Let's see how it feels compared to the other one. Definitely feel a little more circulation. A little more of a lot of sensations there. So let's go ahead and do the other leg too. Let's take the foot forward. Again, draw the toes back as far as possible and then reach straight ahead out past the foot. Not down toward the foot, straight up, straight up. And we can always see we reach a little further each time. Feeling the back of the leg. Hopefully we're feeling some of this up towards that sit bone, the part that's on the chair. Maybe, maybe not. But definitely along the back of the thigh, and if we've got the foot flexed, the back of our calf. So let's go ahead and sit up from here. And remember, hips are different. So we might cross it at the ankle here and come forward, or maybe this side will get here, maybe not. This is a good pose here. No matter what variation of pigeon pose that we take, we tend to notice that there's a difference in our hips when we get into this pose. So just notice it, own it. Odds are if you've done any major activities, regular activities in your life, like skiers, golfers, runners, we may find that one hip is a little tighter or more flexible than the other. Totally normal. So let's go ahead and lift up, take it wide. So we're getting inner thigh again. Pressing open here, heart forward. And we will sit up again. Let's turn ourselves to the side so we get the other thigh on our chair. This knee down. So here again, if you're able to reach it, maybe you can on this side. I recommend doing the same thing on this side that you did on the other side if possible. So I'm going to go ahead and start wiggling this leg back because that's just what feels better for me. And again, just feeling that hip open. Kind of drawing it down a little bit. It wants to go like this. Let's pull it down. Maybe once in a while wiggling our feet back a little further. Just breathing into that opening. This is a nice pose to really help balance out all the sitting that a lot of us do during the day. Even when we don't realize it, we're sitting more than we realize. And then to accentuate that stretch, let's reach our other arm up and lean over the back of the chair, pushing out through the knee. Breathing. And let's release from here. Coming back and having our seat. So again, let's take a moment to sit and notice what we're feeling. Maybe even noticing our sit bones on the chair, if that feels any different than it did before. Maybe, maybe not. So let's move on to some wrist movement here. Let's go ahead and just kind of bend our wrists back and forth. We're going to see about taking our hands together and maybe some circles. Maybe we just stick with the back and forth. Try different movements, see what happens. Now let's take our arms forward and see if we can flip our palms, opening up here. Let's release from that, and we're going to switch which hand is on top. Very subtle switch there. And take it out. Notice if that feels any different. Usually just a little bit. So let's try something a little different, a different variation on getting into our eagle arms. We're going to take our arms out and cross them over. And then we're going to turn the palms around toward each other, and let's clasp our hands. So maybe getting this far was as much as we're going to do today. If, however, we're feeling it, let's rotate down, in, and up, still keeping the hands clasped. Now this is a very deep twist to our wrists and forearms, so be careful. We're going to take a couple more breaths here if possible. If you need to come out of it, come out of it. And let's rotate back in and out. Shake that out. And let's really wiggle our fingers and go ahead and touch our thumb to our forefinger all the way down to the pinky. See if we can speed that up once we get it. Shake it out. All right, let's try the other arm on top. So we're going to cross, turn our hands, and clasp. And again, this may be it for today, if we even got this far. But if we do and we don't try more, clasp and come under. Again, feeling that twisting at the wrist and forearm. It shouldn't be painful, just stretching. So if it's painful, come out. We'll be done in just a couple more breaths anyway. And let's rotate in and out. Again, shaking out our fingers. Let's spread them wide. This time we'll touch our thumb to our pinky first, making our way to our index finger. See if we can speed this up. Harder than it looks. Shake it out. Let's scoot way back on our chair now. And we're going to move to ankles. So let's do the same thing. A little flex and pointing of our feet here. And if our ankles are feeling it, let's check in with them and see if they're up to a little rotation, or just keep going, flex and point. Now, as far as improving our balance, we do want to do a little work at our ankles here, because if our ankles are strong, then they're more likely to keep us up. If you noticed when we were standing a little while ago, on that one foot, it was kind of doing this probably. Let's see if we can't work on that range of motion. So let's take the outer edge of one foot and just kind of gauge your own stretch here. A lot of times if we're walking, we step on something, our foot will twist like that. So if we get some flexibility built up in this ankle, we're less likely to fall over. If our muscles are stiff, we're more likely to fall than if they are more supple. Let's do this to the inner edge. Now let's go to the other foot, again, outer edge, and just kind of draw the knee up. Some people, again, have different range of motion here. The way our muscles are attached around our joints makes a difference. and how this goes. Let's do the other way. And shake it out. Let's go ahead and take our legs out wide. Let's move back to our trunk. I think we've hit all our major joints all the way out. Let's get back into this big joint called our spine, or multiple joints called our spine. All right, let's lift up here, and we are going to see about bending forward, coming over, hands on our thighs. If we're feeling it, we can take it to the floor, only if we're feeling it. This is forward flexion of our spine. Let's get a little cat pose here. Even if we're here, we can round up. And we'll lift up, and let's reach back to the back of the chair again. We've already done these a little bit. Now we're gonna look at some side bending poses to really open up our body. So kind of like when we did our reverse warrior a moment ago, except now our body is totally facing forward. Let's turn our toes forward. And then if we're feeling it, we can take this out further over. We can still get a lot of stretch and opening just reaching for the ceiling though. The key is to push this sit bone into the chair. And let's lift up from here. Let's do the other side. So reaching for the ceiling first. Remember, push this sit bone actively into the chair. If we're feeling it, we can go over. But that's only if we're feeling it. Making sure to breathe, and let's lift up. So we're going to bring our feet together, and we're going to look at a twist. Let's take our legs around to one side. So this way we're sitting up tall. Let's get more towards the center of our chair, and we want to focus on keeping our spine long. We don't want to bend any which way, keep it long. Let's take hands in front of our heart. We want to use only the muscles of our trunk as we start at our waist, and then our chest, and then our shoulders. Now we can hold on to the back of the chair, just don't pull into the twist, just rest the hands there. Otherwise, we'll keep them in front of our chest, and then we can finish off by looking out over that shoulder. So this is a nice way to do this twist because it keeps our hips stable and allows us to focus on keeping our spine long, pushing our sit bones into the chair, lifting our head to the ceiling, making sure we can breathe. And let's unwind from here, back to the center. Now let's just take a couple of deep breaths here. Inhale, lengthening our spine up really tall. If we're feeling it, we can even stand up and lengthen our whole body up tall. Let's do 2 more breaths, whichever way you want to do this, seated or standing. I'll do 1 more seated. And let's make our way to the other side of our chair. So again, scooting forward so that we're nice and stable in the center. Again, hip distance, all that. Lengthening our spine. Hands in front of the chest. Starting from the waist, then the chest, then the shoulders. And again, just resting our hands if we place them on the chair. And then finishing off by looking out over our shoulder. Lifting up tall through the crown of our head. We want to keep our spine long. Let's unwind. And again, let's come back and sit up nice and tall. Checking in with our breath. let's go ahead and sit all the way back in our chair now. So we do want to sit against the back of our chair. We want that support there because we're going to see about lifting our feet up. And then we're going to see about keeping our feet up, taking our legs out wide. So we can take support here. Feeling that strength in our legs. And let's go ahead and bring the soles of our feet together, knees open. So just a little relaxed hip opener here. And if you prefer, you can just take the legs here. But this is going to help us open up here. Let's take hands behind our head, and then let our head rest in our hands. And opening up as much as possible here. So elbows far enough open that maybe we can't see them out of the side of our eyes. Head resting in our hands. No tension on our neck. So just take a little restorative, easy, supported hip and chest opening here. Should be able to breathe easy. And I'll tell you what, let's go ahead and find that 3-part breath. Belly ribs heart, heart ribs belly. And let's come back up. We're going to sit tall. We're going to look at one more twist. So this one, let's sit up tall and bring our knees together. So this is option 1, depending on how our hips feel. Option 1, we're going to lift up, take our hand to the outside of the other hand onto our chair. Option 2 is crossing this leg over, if that's accessible to us. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. Same thing, we're going to lift up tall, twist around, hand outside the leg. Other hand is up against our bottom on the chair. That keeps us focused on keeping our spine long. Remember, our knees can be here. We're inhaling up tall, exhaling into our twist without pushing it, without forcing it. Just letting it happen. Let's unwind from there. Let's take it wide for a moment, especially if we were crossed over. And back in, totally together, lifting up, twisting to the other side, or again, crossing this leg over if that's accessible today. Lengthening up and around. Remembering to stay tall. Remembering our options. Unwinding from here. Let's go ahead and sit all the way back in the chair again. And let's take our legs out, arms overhead, and let's do a big full body stretch right here. See how it feels to do this in the chair, maybe even with our feet up. And release. Let's make sure that we're back against the back of the chair again. We're going to hold on kind of right down near where the legs and the back meet. I've got a nice little spot I can hold on to here. So we're going to keep our bottom locked into that little corner of the chair there. And again, open up our chest. So this is like our bridge pose. Hands holding on to some part of the chair. Really opening up, squeezing our shoulder blades together. Getting a little opening here. Several deep breaths. Let's go into the belly if we can. It's hard not to get into the lungs when they're open like this. Deep breaths, whatever kind of deep breath you want to take, deep as possible. And we're going to release back into the chair. Now let's go ahead and bring one knee up toward our chest. Get a little bit of closing in here. Other side. Just preparing ourselves for our final relaxation in our chair. Let's go back to that first side and then just whatever kind of movement that hip can do. Let's do the other side. And we are going to take final relaxation. So sitting all the way back in our chair, if you happen to have a blanket or a rolled up towel, you can place behind the lower back, that always helps. Leaning the chair, putting the chair against a wall so you can rest your head against the wall, maybe with a pillow, is always nice as well. But if we're going to sit in the chair without any of that, let's make sure our back is against the chair, our sit bones are solid. Take the knees out just a little bit and the feet a little forward. That way you're not likely to slide. And we'll rest our hands in our lap, shoulders relaxed, and let's close our eyes. So just feeling the support of the chair underneath us. Allowing our breath to come normally. Softening in our belly and chest to allow that breathing movement to occur. And beginning to feel our legs go heavy in the chair. Relaxing our arms into our lap. And we want to be conscious about relaxing the muscles of our neck and shoulders. And we want to soften the muscles of our face. And just taking a few moments to be still, balancing out all the movement that we did, allowing our breath to settle, our body to settle, and seeing if we can get our mind to settle as well. And let's bring our awareness back. And we want to start moving at our fingers and toes. Small movements first. Then arms and legs. Moving our body whatever way it feels like it needs. Let's take a big stretch and sit up tall. Let's take another big inhale. And this time we'll exhale hands into our heart. Let's close our eyes for a moment and just check in one more time with how we're feeling, seeing if anything feels different now than it did a while ago. And as always, I want to thank you very much for joining me today. Please do check out that Patreon link in the description. Leave me some comments, let me know what you think, and I will see you next time. Namaste.